Webtoon, they've been doing illustration of some form for quite some time, so they've cut their teeth on other things.
Yeah.
But I was going to kind of address the whole fact that with Webtoon, they were kind of damned if they do and damned if they don't with regards to who they picked were top 8.
Yeah.
Probably because at one point, like some of the comic and like the contest entries were and like being promoted on like their algorithm and whatnot, some for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And people were kind of complaining. And people were also complaining about like some more established entries, like established like people who either they restarted their webcomic or they've been long-time creators and they were like, oh, they already have a fan base, like, and all the just never gonna be able to win this.
Okay.
It's pretty much like, yes.
I accidentally cut you off there because I just moved the server to Singapore, so it'll be easier for you. Because you cut like twice.
What?
But essentially, your point was people were upset that they're never going to be able to win because Webtoon was promoting some other people.
The algorithm was.
The algorithm was for some other people that were already in the competition.
Plus, also the fact that they were newbies and you know and they were thinking like they were underdogs and stuff.
Yeah.
And they were going to be able to have the same clout that more established Webtoon people had. And in addition, especially like people who were more established who decided to restart their Webtoons for the contest and re-upload it. And I am pretty sure that some people would have salted on at least one of the series that made it to top 8, which I thought was a well-deserved series that made it into top 8.
Yeah.
And I'm also aware that she's been on the radar for quite some time, so it was only a matter of time when she made it to some form of feature.
I should say, though, of everyone who got featured, only 2 comics that I know of are rehashes. Re-uploads and then just continuing your stuff for the contest. For the most part, everything is new. So there's Lalan's Curse and Hellish. Hellish got featured. Which I haven't...
Yeah, they're not top 8.
No. So I said of everything in the contest, only 2 rehashes I know got featured, which I still need to message. So I don't know why I haven't done it yet, but yeah. Oh,
she's dying trying to prepare for it. I mean, Code Adam was a rehash, but it was quite a longer rehash, and I believe that Code Adam and his other series. This is stuff I don't usually want to give Lance also the credit and stuff like that. I mean, I just at one point I was a bit like, hang on a minute, like it's really hard to stay reading it because almost all of the characters. So at one point in the early point of when the Lozzles thing came up, Play Dead had quite a lot of people coming in and
never
getting
do that. If no matter how much you love something, if you go and shit on some other people's opinions because you're upset with something, or something you like didn't make it, you make the person that you really like look shit. Don't do that.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, sometimes I feel bad because sometimes it's not necessarily the creator's fault.
Most likely
like they've not said much. They've only just said I didn't make it, but they're quite gracious, and the fans go berserk.
Oh, fans are
and I'm there like, and I'm just there like I get that a lot of the vocal population of Webtoons are young kids, and the older ones are just silent people who support, like leave a like, they bookmark. They sometimes drop like $1 on Patreon or $2. They may go and donate a couple of things or whatever. That's what they do. In comparison, like the younger ones, they just like leave lots of comments, and some of them not realizing the kind of like impression they give off and stuff. And sometimes though, it is also sometimes the message the creator kind of sends. I have seen like in the past like 1 or 2 creators who have been like a bit like, oh, I guess I wasn't good enough or things like that, and it's just like,
yeah, you gotta chill out.
It's painful.
Yeah, it's painful, but you gotta chill out. You can't take it so personally.
I think also like there are a bunch of younger creators. I mean, and towards the end of like the contest, like during entry period, I was also starting to see some people who were getting really desperate begging, and I feel bad, and I know I feel like in an ideal world, everyone who works hard and really wants it will get it. On the other hand, not everyone who works hard and really wants it is working hard in the right direction.
So they're not working
Like some
smart,
people,
they're working hard
yeah,
without thinking.
yeah, they're not working smart enough. Like some people are working hard but not realizing like where they're actually lacking, and and other people are just like, I mean. I
Yeah, no,
mean,
no, I get it.
I really feel bad. Like, I mean, I feel like I maybe I'm nitpicking, but some of the people who I've seen like in the contest are begging, 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 and other people who have said like, oh, yes, I wasn't good enough,
It's like let your
or
work
like,
stand for what you stand. Just let your work stand on its own, and it'll be all right. That's it.
there are some like I think there are some things that some people should realize that immediately, even no matter how good your art is or how good your story is, um, break your immersion if you don't do it right in a comic. Chief of those things
yeah.
I find is into language. I think your
Yes.
language and your typesetting, especially
Yes.
for dialogue, we can't excuse. Like, I mean, I think most people can excuse like one or two things, especially the younger ones, and so they can see past it. But when you have so many comics to judge, sorry,
I can feel the typesetting in my mind. I was so okay. So I never fangirl. You know this. I basically don't give a shit. But I'm only a big fan of three people. Fleor, who makes a comic about cat detectives. Frickin' Jockley, who makes comic a week for 100 weeks, which is a comic that's gonna end in like the next 20 weeks. Yeah, it's a comic that's planned to take about 2 years. And finally, the person who made Love Advice from the Great Duke of Hell, Unfins or Unfinished Stories. These are the three people.
But yes, anyone who is considering doing a comic, and when you get to the typesetting phase, in fact, like, I mean, there's a reason why I always tell people, please sketch in your bubbles before you like start lining your dang comic, because people either don't account for like the placement of bubbles, and then once they slap it on, it just breaks like how nice the panel looks, like whether that's balanced or not,
or they account for it, but then their bubbles are shit.
Yes. At one point, I am actually going to do like a different stream on the channel about like, you know, stuff like editorial 101.
Yeah.
Yes, editorial 101. And we're just gonna cover like typesetting for like at least one whole hour. I kind of feel like it's one of those basic things that people should know, but for some reason they don't.
Yeah.
And because they're just going by what they see in other comics, especially, and this is a huge problem with translated manga, which is not ideal because manga is written in a vertically language.
Look, I'm gonna just tell you, if you're looking at translated manga, those are the artists. Those are a bunch of people who know a lot of Photoshop, making the best of a shit situation. They are doing that. God, I know a bunch of scanlators, and I used to work with a bunch of them, and it's just like killing yourself to fit text in there sometimes. Like, you know, sometimes you see those dual text bubbles, right? Most of the time, dual text bubbles are not part of the comic. We add those in post. Like, they add those in post, and then they add the text in, because it's like, they put so much text, but because it's in Japanese, it can fit in that really tiny space. Webtoon manga font that they always use, I don't know what it's called.
Anime Ace?
Is it called Anime Ace? Because we have it.
Anime Ace is a very common one, like commonly used one. Now, there are other things like, I mean, serif eye versus like non-serif eye, like eye with the crossbars and eye without the crossbar. Yeah. Like there's convention, like you should be using the crossbar eye, like it's a pronoun or at the start of the title. But let's not get into that so now, because I will save that for my lesson. It's stuff that I keep telling a lot of people. Like,
you really have to stick to what you believe in when you're making stuff. When you're making comics, really, you're making anything.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yes.
I know why you're so mad. Don't worry. For me though, because I spent so much time reading them, because, you know, I was in the middle of a holiday. I had nothing better to do. I didn't make a top 8.
You were in Africa. You were not blessing the rains down there.
I was blessing anything I want, but I did make a top 8. My top 8 was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, in my opinion. But hey, what do I know? So my top 8 was pretty much Lionel's Curse was still there. Love Advice from the Great Duke of Hell was still there.
Yes, those two I would.
Yeah.
And the other one from my group, Escape of Spirits, would have been up there.
I put because there's nothing else. But in my most feel section, I had Twigs, which if you haven't read Twigs, it's the Twigs. It's fucking adorable. The Twigs is adorable. It's about this like chicken duck thing called Hamilton. and all he says is Hugh. He doesn't say anything else, but everyone can understand him, and it's fucking brilliant. It's fucking brilliant. I don't know. I love it. What do you call it? The four of them were still. Oh my god! I will
Sorry.
kill your dog. The four of them were still there. And for my most laughs, I did have. I'm finding the comparing topic important. Would be cool to have a go for it sometime. Yeah. Sorry, I was just reading a comment. My most laughs had love advice from the Great Duke of Hell. And this is where I'm gonna make my comment, and this is the reason why what you call it, Soap is gonna love me, is because fucking the fucking comic, right? Badass love story protagonist, badass high school love story protagonist should have been in there. Okay, I will fight to the end of my life for this, or at least until I'm tired, because old age really gets my back. But it should have been in there. No, genuine. From a genuine perspective, like the level of the kind of comedy it had was. Remember how I was talking about? It's not just about making things relatable. It's about making things interesting, but also, like, you know, adding like actual character progression in every single element, in every important element of your story. Like, so you make a gag, but you still, you know, show me why you actually care about your character. She does that, and she does that in the whole comic.